It's time! His company has made some of the mouth guards for some of the most famous fighters on the planet, including Team Koscheck as well as Team GSP, and lately on The Ultimate Fighter 17 with Team Sonnen and Jones, as well as mouth guards for Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen, and even Shogun Hua. I know you've had a busy weekend. They're fight dentists, but thank you for joining me, Mr. Adam Persky.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
I will speak on behalf of everybody. I think they're doing great.
Good, good, good.
Okay, I just want to get started. You had a very unusual climb to the top. You literally started out not knowing a lot about boxing and MMA mouthpieces, and yet you've literally ascended to become, the heavyweight champion of mouth protection. Can you just talk about how you went to the Nevada Athletic Commission to study about 600 boxers and martial artists? And can you just explain some of your findings?
Sure. Just to backtrack a little behind that, my wife, who's my partner, Dr. Silva Battaglin, who's also a dentist, we were in Toronto for 12 years and worked with the Ontario Minor Hockey Association. So we were very experienced in mouth guards, and then fast forward, we moved to Nevada right after 9/11. Opened up a practice and realized there's not much hockey out here, but there's boxing and MMA. Started putting the word out that we made mouth guards, ended up realizing that the mouth guards that most of the guys were wearing in boxing, because MMA wasn't big yet, was, those cheap mouth guards you buy from a store. So I was amazed when I started seeing these boxers first with these really cheap mouth guards. So I said, my wife and I said, they should do a study. Anyhow, we got our foot in the door with the Nevada Athletic Commission. We presented our request if we could do a study on what boxers and martial artists are wearing in Nevada. Now, we knew nothing about MMA or the UFC. I didn't really even know what it was when we moved here. And they gave us credentials, and they wanted us to go to every fight, photograph, measure. Well, it was our idea, photograph, measure, and just report back what the fighter was wearing, professional and amateur. It was about a 1.5 or 2-year study. I think we went to about 40 events. We interviewed about 600 fighters. And we found that 80% of them were wearing store-bought, inexpensive mouth guards. A good percentage of them were buying them the day of the fight. They weren't fitting properly. They weren't boiled. They weren't cut. And what happened was, going to all these events, we got our name out. And, the UFC was just starting up at this point, and we were fortunate enough to meet Dana White and that small crew. The funny story is, the UFC, when we met them, there were only 10 people in the office. Now there's like 310 people here just in Vegas. And we were able to prove in this study how, I would say, 80% of the mouth guards were horrible. Fast forward, we're actually doing a follow-up study now to show the difference. We just started with the UFC because of time, and we'll over the next 1.5 years, we'll do other events. The first 3 fights my wife and I have done, we found about 95% are wearing custom mouth guards.
And can we just kind of segue away from martial arts and boxing? When it comes to mouth guards, do different sports, boxing, hockey, and football, have different mouth guards, or would you recommend different mouth guards?
In custom mouth guards, I would recommend different mouth guards. It depends on the athlete and the sport. Take, for example, a quarterback or a rugby player, or let's say, well, not really hockey as much, but athletes that have to speak to each other during the game. We will go 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeters thinner on those mouth guards. It allows them to talk a lot. I mean, you can still talk with a thick mouth guard. It's just not as clear. You're not going to be a quarterback yelling out plays with a thick mouth guard. You can yell them out with a thinner mouth guard. Rugby players always want thin mouth guards, as I found out they need to talk to each other during the game. So we always ask, what sport is the mouth guard for? And you need to communicate. I mean, if you're not a player, if you're a player on a team that doesn't really talk much because of your position, they'll go for the thicker guards. So yeah, it does depend on what sport and what position.
We're speaking with Dr. Adam Persky. You can find him on fightdentist.com, facebook.com/fightdentist, as well as on Twitter @fightdentist. Doc, can we go in and talk about the process of making custom mouth guards? I'm not just talking about the impression state, but also how you get the designs and stuff. Because much like in hockey, a lot of goalies have custom helmets with different designs and stuff. How does somebody go about choosing a custom mouth guard? And do you recommend for them the design and stuff, or is that right from them as well?
Well, we do 4 custom mouth guards. They're all made the same. The only difference is the artwork. So, for example, the least expensive mouth guard is black or white at $75. It has our logo. We do that for athletes that can't afford the full custom. Then the next step up would be the $99 mouth guard, where it would be like your name. So if you wanted just Trevor in the front, or the Canadian flag, or the American flag, we could do that in the front. The next step up is the Fangs, so any of the Fang series, where the most expensive, which is $195 or $197, is the full artwork. People who come in with that, they already know what they want. They've designed it. They've seen some of the ones we've done. You know, like if you look at, I don't know if there's any pictures from last night. We did Uriah Faber's mouth guard. For the fight coming up here at the Hard Rock, we're doing Misha Tate's, we're doing Chael's, and these guys know what they want. They know the artwork they want. For the average person, some of these people come in with really intense designs. They send them to us, we send them to our artists, and if we can do it, we do it.
Cool. You were in Canada for a while in Toronto, and the national sport here, the lifeblood, is literally hockey. Not a week goes by that somebody doesn't get hurt in the National Hockey League. Throw some names: Marian Hossa, Gino Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Daniel Sedin. All those guys are top big league players, and they've all had concussions in the last year. Why hasn't the NHL made it mandatory that these players wear or wear mouthpieces?
You know, that's been the I guess the chicken before the egg argument for years on why NHL, NFL doesn't require these athletes to wear mouth guards. I remember we were in Toronto. I actually had the opportunity to meet Eric Lindros and Pat LaFontaine, who both ended their careers early. And when I got to speak to them, they said that you know, people don't realize you get a concussion once, the second concussion is worse, the third, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So if you're a hockey player growing up or a football player, and you have a concussion as a teenager, you keep getting them, it's going to get worse and worse. Now, we're not saying that mouth guards totally prevent concussions. It's just one factor of many issues. What a good custom mouth guard does is prevents the base of the skull from touching, it stops the lower jaw from hitting the base of the skull. Why these associations don't require guards is beyond us. But I will say the NFL, with all these lawsuits that have been going on the last couple of years, I think you could say by next year, I think this is just my feeling from what I've been told, you're going to see a new set of rules in regards to mouth guards, especially custom mouth guards, because you can breathe, you can talk, you can drink. We've approached these associations. They just don't want to touch it. It's almost like it's taboo, but I think all these lawsuits in the NFL is going to change everything for a lot of sports.
Well, you'd think with the NHL alone, because with hockey, the perceived notion is that you're not a hockey player until you lose some teeth, and I don't understand that myself.
No. You know, when we were living in Toronto, we had a lot of adults who played, you know, hockey as they got older. And, oh, I don't need a mouth guard, I don't need a mouth guard. And things they don't realize, you could be the best, Trevor, you could be the best skater. I mean, I don't know, you know, your age, and you go, nothing's going to happen to me. But you're playing another adult team, and there's not a good skater, and he knocks into you or falls, and you fall backwards, and the back of your head hits the ice. So picture yourself going down on the ice. Your lower jaw is going to be flying up into your upper jaw. So if you don't have a mouth guard, just to protect your teeth at that point, if you have crowns or veneers or just fillings, just your teeth alone can get damaged, and you can cut your lip, you can cut your tongue. So just the fact to wear a mouth guard to protect your teeth and your gums is number one. Number two, you know, the science shows it does help prevent concussions. It's not the end all, but it's just one more factor to concussions, just like helmets. You know, people don't want, you know, here in Las Vegas there's no helmet law. We're amazed that people drive motorcycles without helmets. I mean, it just adds one more level of protection.
We're speaking with Dr. Adam Persky, the Fight Dentist. You can find him at fightdentist.com, facebook.com/fightdentist, as well as on Twitter @fightdentist. Doc, growing up, I used to wear a mouth guard that had dual protection on the top and bottom. What happened to those?
We still see those in the stores. Those are, I mean, we make a custom double. So when people say, "Oh, I want a double custom," I said, "Have you ever worn a double custom?" No. I said, "Oh, you bought one in the store." You can buy those in the store. They're thick material. You have to constantly bite on them to stay in. So depending on the sport, it may not be the best thing because you're concentrating on biting on the mouth guard. Now, you take a custom upper mouth guard. It fits. We always compare it to like a custom denture, custom shoe, custom glove, whatever. It fits your mouth. It snaps up. It gives you 2 or 3 millimeters of protection. You can't bite down completely. You can breathe. You can talk. You can actually drink water from a bottle. We will make a custom double, which is basically 2 customs fused together. The only negative is it's very thick. It's hard to breathe. And really the only sport we see those being used in is boxing because they're not grappling, they're not on the floor, they're standing, and these guys know how to breathe. So yes, there are still there are doubles in the stores. We just don't recommend them because we just know that the custom upper is more protection.
I like to throw out some Facebook questions when I'm doing a big interview like this, and one
Sure.
of the names that gets popped up the most just this past week when I said I would be talking to you is Chael Sonnen. And the question I've got for you is it a coincidence that he uses a fight dentist product and he's probably the best talker in MMA now?
No, it's funny. Chael, he puts on this persona that he's the bad boy of the UFC, and he does. But when you know him, he's a nice guy. And it was funny because he was doing the Ultimate Fighter, and I met one of his coaches, Scott McGarry, came up to me at the Fight Summit here in Vegas. And he said, "Oh, Chael needs a mouth guard," and I knew they were at the Ultimate Fighter, so we went and did it, and we did it really quick and for that. But no, I mean, he always wanted a good custom. We're actually designing one now for the April 27th fight, which he doesn't want me to tell anybody what it's going to be. But we had a contest on Facebook, and we picked one, and we're going to announce that soon. And it's just he is a good talker, and he's good for the fight dentist. So we're happy to have him on our team. And just like we're doing Misha Tate's for the April 13th fight, and she's coming out with a new design for her mouth guard. The women fighters are going to make a splash in the UFC, and we've done quite a few of these mouth guards for these girls.
A Facebook question from Sahil Sani. I don't know if you'll want to answer this, but he asks, maybe we can tidy this up a little bit, but he basically says, who's the biggest diva you've had to work with within the UFC, or who's caused you the most grief with the design?
Design, nobody. My wife and I are always the first ones to say that UFC fighters are the greatest people to work with. I never really have any problems with design or issues with them. It's always, the problems always come when they'll call me like 4 days before a major fight. Doc, we lost our mouth guard, and if we have the model, we'll get them overnight. We've never really had any issues. We communicate with them. There's really never been anyone I could say is hard to deal with in the UFC. In the old days of boxing, when you dealt with entourages and you never really dealt with the boxer, you dealt with his entourage, that was always issues because it was just, you can never communicate with that one person. So you were dealing with someone in his little inner circle or not really her, but that's kind of slowed down because there's really not much boxing going on as much. But UFC, even NFL, it's never been any issues.
Question comes from Corey Marshall. He says, I'm a rec hockey player. What would you recommend for a minimal contact hockey league?
If you're an adult, you really should be wearing a custom mouth guard. You only get one set of teeth, and if you had dental work, especially extensive dental work, if you had braces, you got to protect your investment. So that's why we offer the Fight Dentist one, which is $75. It's the same mouth guard that we sell for $200. There's no difference except it's black or white with our logo. The same thickness, the same quality, the same high-end material. So, we always tell people, if you're an adult and you're playing any kind of sport, it doesn't have to be a contact sport, really should be wearing a mouth guard to protect your teeth. Because if you lose a tooth, that $75 investment that you didn't put in can end up costing you $3,000 to $5,000 to get a bridge or an implant.
You might be a little biased on this one, but are we going to see a new light heavyweight champion in April?
I've learned being with the UFC, I don't make any recommendations because I have to take care of everything. There's many fights that both fighters wearing our guards. So my wife and I try to stay as neutral. We're Switzerland when it comes to calls. We're backstage. We're in the locker rooms, and we're friends with everybody. So I never make a call on who's going to win.
He is Dr. Adam Persky. He's the Fight Dentist. You can find him on fightdentist.com as well as on facebook.com/fightdentist, as well as on Twitter @FightDentist. He's got an awesome line of everything you can need as low as $75. Protect your teeth. Doc, thanks for joining us today.
Great. I just want to show you one thing. We've come out, not everyone can afford custom guards. So my wife, Dr. Silva Battaglin, who's a Toronto native, to all you Canadians, she designed a intense line of boil and bite mouth guards with the same material that we're doing our customs. And I'll show you, I have the Canadian one if it comes up on the screen. There it is. This is a $29 mouth guard, and it's a boil and bite, and you'll find it online at fightdentist.com. But when it's boiled and bit in correctly, it almost feels like a low-end custom. We're not saying this is the way to go, but if you can't afford a custom, we don't want you buying a $2 guard. We want you in the middle. So, we have the Canadian flag, we have the American flag, and we have our old standard, the fangs. Everybody wants the fangs. So she put a lot of research and energy into designing there's like 15, we even have ladies' fangs and lady skulls. So, we've tried to cover everybody, and in the next couple of months, we're even have the junior ones with the straps. So we're working hard to get everybody into a good mouth guard.
He's one heck of a dentist and obviously one hell of a businessman, Dr. Adam Persky. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
That was awesome. Thanks so much. I really, I was hoping I could get you to bite on the Chael Sonnen thing, but I was hoping for a little inside information on the design, but no luck, hey?